Welcome back, folks, and Nukes is at it again. It seems now that Eric Swalwell is ignoring everything about the Mueller report and basically demanding you just allow him to rule. You see, the Mueller report ran for over 2 years and had a wide sweeping mandate basically to find a crime. This last March, Robert Mueller submitted his report, and despite Democrats crying over redactions that are required by United States law, Robert Mueller's report very clearly showed there was no collusion with any foreign government between the Donald Trump campaign and them in 2016. He also showed that he could find no evidence of obstruction. Now, Swalwell is saying the exact opposite. Now, I also called this long before Mueller released his report, that when the report came out and showed there was no collusion, they would either discount it, or, as I'm still waiting, one of them may eventually claim that Robert Mueller is a Russian plant and should go to jail for tainting the investigation. But, pardon me, but looking at the article itself, we see that this is in an interview with Chris Wallace, where we got a clip from Morning Joe, where the Mueller report spent 22 months, looked at all the evidence, and it says you were wrong, Wallace said while referring to the Mueller report that made it clear the Trump campaign did not collude with Russia. Robert Mueller has personally said there was no collusion. Yet, Swalwell fires back. It did not say that, Swalwell argued. He tried making the argument that just because some actions by then candidate Trump were not actually illegal doesn't mean they should be. So that statement right there is literally Swalwell saying we're going to make this thing into a crime, then we're going to charge him with the crime that happened before it was a crime because we want to do it. The Democrats have become the party of, I don't care what the election said, I don't care what the election results are, I don't care what the investigation said, you're going to obey us. When we look at this, of course, instantly we're reminded, because the Democrats won't give this up, of a Trump rally where Trump made a comment that the Russians could find the 33,000 emails. And of course, they're saying that because Trump made that comment and then there was something done, that was Donald Trump ordering Russia to do it. It couldn't be further from the truth. You see, we have only one thing that was ever used for any warrant of any kind to investigate this, which means to spy on the campaign in 2016, and that's the dossier that even the author now continues to say was largely unverified. It's very simple. Donald Trump could walk on water and Democrats would say he's afraid to swim. Donald Trump could single-handedly cure all disease on the planet, lengthening our lives by hundreds of years, and they would say Donald Trump hates doctors and puts them out of business. Donald Trump could hand them all $1 million in cash, and they would say, why didn't you give me more? Nothing Donald Trump does is ever going to be good in their eyes. Our economy is growing at a rate that everyone said was impossible. We have more jobs now than we've had in decades. Unemployment at an all-time in recorded history low. Taxes for all taxpayers, despite what the Democrats say, are lower. Terrorists are running scared. China is negotiating because they are realizing our tariffs are going to hurt them. North Korea is coming to the table. All of these things that Donald Trump said he would do, and he's doing them. The only one he's having trouble with is the wall, because Congress is able to step in the way and say, no, don't enforce our laws. But even then, they're not able to completely stop him. They're only able to slow him down. And this is honestly not a surprise, because Swalwell's campaign, despite his tweets and despite his rhetoric and despite his "we have nukes" threats when people say they won't be disarmed, he can't get any traction even with his own party. Much like O'Rourke, he's polling at less than 5%. I want to say I actually saw where he's less than 1 at one point. And of course, he's blaming that on, well, the Republicans don't like me. You wouldn't be at less than 5% if only half the people you're polling didn't like you. You'd be at 50%. But the Democrats famously poll their own people. And when you're going for a primary, typically that's what everyone does, because in a primary, only one party votes for each primary. And we're expected to ignore this. We're expected to listen to the man who boasts that he flies these two flags every day, standing in front of the U.S. flag and an LGBTQ flag. And, of course, he then ignores that people take the mickey out of him horribly on Twitter. We're supposed to ignore that a man who sleeps and works behind some of the most heavily armed security in the country wants to disarm you. We're supposed to ignore that a man who is a member of Congress, supposed to be the body that makes the law, and should therefore understand the law, is now quite literally saying, it's not a crime now, but we're going to make it a crime, as if he could then charge someone for something that happened before it was illegal. Now, the problem with that is there have been municipalities and other bodies that have tried this. They've tried saying, we forgot to make this thing illegal, but it is now, so going back for 50 years, if you did this, we're going to put you in jail now. By and large, most of them fail, but there are tyrannies and dictatorships out there that succeed at it, and they use this as a means of control. They use it as a means of saying, we're going to declare things you do every day illegal if you don't obey us now. That's no different than what Swalwell is doing with this. With Swalwell saying, we're going to make what we define as collusion, which even Robert Mueller couldn't find, we're going to say it doesn't matter and declare it a crime, and then we're going to impeach the president, and then we're going to seize power. It's going to fail, because of course right now the GOP controls the Senate. AOC, Swalwell, Tlaib, Omar, and so many more are gifts to the GOP with their insanity, to where, honestly, I really kind of hope Swalwell keeps his seat in 2020 and is surrounded by a sea of red. Sees the same sea of red in the Senate, and sees Donald Trump still in office, just so we get more inane ramblings from him for more and more time, because he, AOC, and the rest, by pushing this ultra off the deep end liberal left rhetoric, they're waking people up. And honestly, I kind of want him to continue, because it's going to be the best gift the GOP could ever receive. I also, though, would like for someone to hand him a copy of the Constitution and have him read the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, Articles 1, 2, and 3, which lay out the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Ask him to read them verbatim, and then ask him, where does that say you can just rule on gun control, or you can just demand unfettered access to homes to enforce what you call safe storage? Just to watch him sputter, just to watch him try to find a way to say, I am in charge, obey me, without saying those words. It's going to get a little worse before it gets better. We have about 18 months before, 17 months before the 2020 election. And we have a lot of challenges in front of us. One, we have the 23-ring circus that is the Democratic National Party, and so far, the multitude of candidates. And we have the mass media beholden to the Democrats to help them win. But of course, who are they beholden to right now when there's 23 Democrats all vying for the honor of losing to Donald J. Trump? So it's going to be something definitely to watch. But I've talked long enough. Let me know what you think. Remember, keep it civil. We don't learn from argument, we learn from debate. As always, please remember to like and share this video, as well as to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you're among the first to know of all new content as it is posted. Until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day.